Back to the pace before I get started.
Here we go. So how's everyone doing today? So I want to talk about why training for most men is incomplete and why so many men struggle with getting in shape, getting themselves back in the game. Because the thing is, a lot of frustration for the men I train online is that they used to be really good athletes. They were really competitive and they may have played sport to a high, semi-pro, even pro level game, but that was yesteryear. That was back then. And it's not now. Now there are guys in their 40s, 50s who are slightly overweight, maybe a bit more than slightly. And they're struggling to come to terms with this because they've always been in a position where they've always been able to manage it, and this time they can't. This time something's occurred that stopped them, and it's a barrier. And the stresses of modern day living that wasn't applied back when they were in their 20s is now appearing, and it's knocking them off their game. And this is frustrating for guys because for men who have always been able to just stay in shape or always achieve the goals they're after, when you're confronted with this sort of barrier that was once easy, it can really knock your confidence. Did for me, coming back from the hip replacements, I always struggled with what I could do compared to what I always thought I could do or what was able to do at one point. And I see this in guys all the time. And what inevitably happens is they turn to pushing harder. It becomes almost like a competition to themselves, that they want to prove to themselves that they can still do it, that they've still got it in them, that they, no matter what happens, they'll get there, and they push harder and harder and harder. And what invariably happens is the body gives in, they get injured, they lose motivation, they struggle. And that's just a natural byproduct of overloaded nervous system. But because you're in your ego and because you're struggling with your identity and not being able to cope with the fact you're no longer that guy you once were, it takes you out of your head. It takes you out of your ability to focus on not listening to the voices in your head and instead just back off a bit. And because I was a professional MMA fighter and I was in that alpha male environment, and I understand what it is like to be a competitor and, always strive for more. It's cost me my 2 hips because I damaged myself so much that I had to get both hips replaced. My ego was so huge. And then the embarrassment and the shame of putting on weight and losing weight and getting somewhere then being knocked back, it affects your confidence. But guys tend to turn to just pushing harder and harder and harder. Guys who that mentality of train, of you can out-train any problem. And when I started to really go deep into the psychedelic work and start to take ayahuasca and magic mushrooms and bufo and you name it, I've done it, and I've done it for many years, that I start to see that this barrier that I had in front of me, this need to push myself and strive to become more and stronger and always prove to myself that I could cope with more pain and more stress, that came to the forefront for me, and it started to expose to me that the lies I was telling myself and how that it was actually the barrier that was causing me the problems. And it's taken me the last 6 years of going deep into the subconscious and the spiritual and emotional work to get to this point. And now I'm 49 in July, and I'm fitter than I've been in 10 years. I'm leaner than I've been in 15 years. And I'm more settled and more connected with myself than I've been in my life. And I absolutely 100% put this change down to the work outside of the gym and allow myself to actually surrender to the mind and the breath work. I don't think there's enough people recognise the power of breath work and how much men can benefit. If you want to get in shape, what I've learned is if you're a man and you want to get in shape, and you're this guy that's been doing your best over and over again, constantly pushing, constantly joining gyms and trying trainers and programs and diets, but never getting the results you're after. Long term, you may lose a few pounds in the program, but then you lose the motivation. You leave the gym, you stop the diet, life gets in the way again. So you're on this yo-yo diet, yo-yo experience of getting there, losing it, getting there, losing it, or something similar. That was me. And that's like thousands of men I've trained. And the ones who succeed are the ones that I notice start recognizing it's more than just physical, and then approach that area of focus with the same attitude they do with driving towards the physical. Meditation and these sound bowls have absolutely changed my life. And if I take it back to the martial art aspect of things, you know, as an MMA fighter, you're fighting, you're hitting, your body's constantly being like beat up and challenged. And you're doing that because you're going to step into the cage and you're going to compete and you're going to test yourself and you're going to try to obviously push a career in it for a lot of guys. But I know from being a professional MMA fighter, from bringing a guy to the UFC, and our first guy in Ireland to bring someone to the UFC, you know, I've coached the highest level. It is never the physical attributes in the fight. It's the mindset. It's the connection that guy has with who he is and what he is, and being able to bring himself to the present moment. And that's not cultivated in the cage, that's cultivated in the journey towards the cage. And it's that, you know, you have to get up early in the morning to do multiple disciplines, and you have to sacrifice relationships, friendships, experiences with friends for this goal that you put in front of you. You've decided that this goal to achieve whatever it is, the win, the title, the career, is more important than going out with your friends, having the beers. The same for footballers. You're in a team and you've got a chance to win the championship. You sacrifice nights out, you sacrifice the booze, you sacrifice the relationships, you sacrifice the women because you had to do extra training. You had to do the things that got you to a place where it gave you the most opportunity to win. And that is something that every guy who I train still has it in them. But the thing about the martial arts was the mind beat you in the fight if you weren't in the right place. It was always the thoughts that you didn't control that got you in a place where your opponent beat you. And it's something that I think you have to train as intensely, if not more so, than the body. The body, you will naturally train your body if your mindset is in a place that allows you to find the reasons why you must do what you want to do, even if you don't want to do it. I never met a fighter that wanted to train every session. I never met a fighter that wanted to get into the cage every night and spar people that were fresh men and get kicked and get punched and get hit. But I met loads of fighters that wanted the glory of the experience of the few don't have, of standing in that cage victorious, having people cheer your name. I've had tons of fighters that wanted that. And because they wanted that so badly, they sacrificed all the external vices. And the guys that really win, the guys that really succeed, were the guys that didn't just train physical, but trained their mindset. Done as much, found time for clarity and meditation, breath work, because it allowed them to recover, it allowed them to reconnect, it allowed them to become a more connected, a more holistic, a more full version of them. Because when the pressure's on, that's when the personality is going to be shown. And the more work you've done on yourself, and the more chance you've given yourself to just reconnect and recover and breathe and allow your mind to stop talking and just reconnect the body, the more soothed your nervous system is. And the more soothed that nervous system is, the more it recovers, the better you feel. So all these guys I know in their 50s who are still wanting to be in their 20s, they're looking at their old selves and they're comparing themselves now to a 20-year-ago guy who had less stresses, less responsibilities, more testosterone, more energy, more time. And because he's constantly battling with this conversation in his mind of who he used to be and how he wants to get back there, he's actually avoiding the reality of what is. He's no longer that man. And he's going to waste years of his life trying to become him, when that energy could be as easily spent rediscovering who he is and becoming the best version of himself now. I will never be the 23-year-old professional fighter I was. I had 2 hips back then. I had no kids. I had no responsibilities. I was able to train twice a day. But I wouldn't want to be him again. Because I know who he was. He was insecure. He was covering who he was with all this ego and presenting this MMA cage fighter guy. He was doing it for the wrong reasons. Now, I don't regret, because he got me to here. But I see so many men my age still connected to that old self and trying to rebirth him instead of actually letting themselves recognize who they are now and take steps towards becoming the best version that he is. And that, for a guy in his 40s and 50s and 60s, is actually a lot easier. Because once you recognize you're no longer that guy in your 20s and you let that story go, you free up room within yourself to do what's right for you now. And the social media aspect of this type of thing isn't helping. Unfortunately, what I say, a lot of guys don't want to hear it. A lot of guys want to be told it's easy to get back in shape, and they want to let their ego do the listening and take control. And I've been there and I've seen so many guys do it over and over again, and I recognize the mistakes that are being made. And the craziest thing for me is, if you're a guy my age, and you were a competitive guy, and you've still kept yourself, say, in some level of training, nowhere near where you want to be, but you can still bench press and you can still move a bit, you can absolutely become a superior version of yourself now, and in a pretty short space of time. I'd say within 6 months, a guy who's committed, who's got the hunger and the desire and the consistency to do what's needed, could get himself into great shape. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has become the new middle-aged man's golf. You know, those hungry guys who still have that competitive edge, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has become it. It's grappling, and it's a great art. Listen, without grappling, without MMA, I'm not who I am today. It's no longer who I am, but without it, I'm not who I am today. It got me to here. And I know the benefits, and I can understand why men want to do it. Like, I love grappling still. I still love a bit of crack, but I don't like the competitiveness of it. I like the challenge of grappling, the puzzle, the chess game. I've lost the love of competing and making it serious, and the need to win being the outcome. Because I think when the need to win is there, you miss the opportunity to learn. Grappling is a great way of showing your limitations, both in physical movement, mental gymnastics and mental mindset, your heart, and the ego. It gives everything, and it also, challenges you physically, strength-wise, mobility-wise, cardio-wise. For me, approached correctly, grappling is probably the best sport a middle-aged man can do now. But it has to be approached from the martial art ethos. It can't be approached from the competitive frame of mind, the wanting to better your opponents all the time. There's a puzzle to be solved within grappling, and the puzzle could be technique, the puzzling could be fitness, it could be mobility, it could be ability, it could be courage, it could be confidence, it could be tenacity, it could be a multitude of things. And when you're on the mats and you're grappling and you're trying to compete with another opponent, and it's the sole purpose is domination. That's your opponent wants to dominate you, you want to dominate your opponent. That is what grappling is in its essence. So it's very masculine in that approach. But when you can allow the lessons and the experience to present to you where your limitations lie, it's a fantastic teacher. And I think a lot of guys are missing out on this opportunity because they're coming into it from a competitive perspective. The competition, the idea of competing and getting the win and the medals and on the podium, while I get why you do it, doesn't appeal to me anymore, but I get why you want to do it. I think when you're in your 40s and 50s, taking it from a more stoic perspective can open your eyes and your abilities so much clearer. When you're grappling with another guy and you're trying to dominate and he's beating you, you're going to most likely start working strength on strength. You're going to try to push and push, and you're going to fight. That fight or flight kicks in. And you're not learning anymore because you're in survival mode. And it's the perfect opportunity to allow yourself to relax, feel, start seeing the proprioception, move. And if the guy gets in a better position and dominates and taps you, well, why did he get in that position? Was it lack of knowledge? Was it lack of understanding? Was it lack of fitness? Was it lack of mobility? Was it lack of strength? Was it lack of tenacity? There's a reason why he got there, and if you can open your mind to seeing these things, you can learn from it. But too many guys go into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu nowadays with the ego mindset. They want to be the 25-year-old. They want to prove themselves they still got it. And they push themselves too hard and they get tired, or they get beat and they take it bad, or they never seem to get the win, even though it's only a grapple or a flow roll in the gym. And I see that too much now. I just think Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has become too competitively edged, too sport focused, and there's not enough focus for guys my age on the benefits you can get from it, not just physical, but emotional and mental. How it can transform who you are and change who you are, if you allow it. This is where the Weathered Warriors came from. The Weathered Warriors came from, it's born from my life experience. The Weathered Warriors is an amalgamation of 20 years of MMA coaching and coaching men 40 plus. It's come from, 26 years of MMA competing in it, and an obsession with lifting weights all my life. It's come from the experiences of the psychedelics and the healing journey I've been on. Because I chose the name Weathered Warriors. Actually, my friend gave me the name Weathered Warriors. I was explaining what I wanted, and it encompassed it perfectly. Because guys my age, I see us all as warriors. We're still here fighting. We're still trying to push for our kids, trying to win for our family, sacrificing things so that they have more than we got, doing things for the love of our partners and the love of our children, for the desire to build. We're warriors because we don't quit. desktop background is, I don't get that, okay. But we're worried and we're weathered because life has weathered us. Life has challenged us. And I just see, like I said, I'm 49 in July. I see so many men my age struggling. And they're struggling physically, mentally, and emotionally. And I know that with men my age, the conditioning of life makes it very hard to express and to be open. We're getting better at it. But a lot of men my age still struggle to be seen to be vulnerable and become very self-conscious of the opinions or the perceived opinions of others, because it's usually in our own head that we're creating these opinions. And this is, but I know that through my own experience, and then through my experience of what I went through and the job I've chosen, the vocation I've chosen, I've coached thousands of men. And the patterns within each of these men are the same. The experiences are different, but the energy is the same. And it's holding so many men back. They're terrified to be authentically them because of fear of judgment, fear of opinions of others. So instead we hide and we suppress these feelings, and you see it. And today we're overweight, we're obese, we're lacking confidence. We use food, booze, cigarettes, drugs, porn, gambling, addictions, scrolling as our way of distracting ourselves and suppressing what is. And I think that's a very sad state for men to be in. I think it hurts to see, because we've all got our burdens, across the board, burdens to carry. But you don't have to be alone to do that. I know through the work I've been doing that there are hundreds of guys out there in similar position to us all. And we're all stuck in our own heads, and our own belief structures. And the story we tell ourselves is the reason why we're not getting to where we want to be. And this is all, each and every one of us. And it could be financial, it could be relational, it could be physical, it could be business-wise, anything. The energy of the experience is the same. And we're all so conditioned to believe that we're the only ones going through it, so we keep it suppressed. Women are really good at sharing how they feel. Men are very, very bad at it, and it's causing so many issues. That was my issue. So I started this. As well as the physical, because listen, I was fit, I was strong, I was fast, I could fight, I was lifting heavy weights. I could do all the things that on paper is very masculine. And what society says men like. So why was I miserable? Why was I depressed? Why was I suicidal? Why was I always wanting to check out? And I realized there was something missing. So I started on the emotional work and the mental work, and the ayahuasca and the shrooms and the bufo and all the other substances you can think of that create that outer body psychedelic experience that allows you to attach to your emotions and feel into what you got to feel. And through that experience, I realized that we can't fix emotional problems through physical action. We can suppress it. We can release the energy when we feel stressed. That's why guys need the gym. But we don't address it. And then we're slaves to our training, or we're slaves to our need to release because we haven't connected with. And I think there needs to be an integration process for men And the physical energy tires you and gets you out of your head and allows you to, and then it should be accompanied with meditation and things like sound baths that allow you to integrate and to feel, release, and just connect with that present moment. Too many guys that I talk to, and me, we're stuck in our head 24/7. And we're detached from our bodies. The only time we get physical sensations is like when we're grabbing, we're hitting, we're being aggressive. We're actually out of tune, out of alignment with our bodies. And we feel uncomfortable to lie and be still, to close your eyes and to just rest and be at peace with your thoughts. Let your thoughts come through, observe them, but not allow them to dictate how you feel. And that's a skill. That's a strength. That's something that every man on this earth benefits from when they start to put attention to it and work with it. We work our bodies, no problem. Men love to lift heavy shit and get strong and put on muscle because it makes us feel good. But there are bodybuilders out there, there's MMA fighters out there, loads of MMA fighters out there, powerlifters out there, Olympic lifters out there who are depressed, who are anxious, who are insecure. There are millionaires out there who are tapping themselves because they're not happy. So it's showing us that the external issues aren't what the issue is. It's here. Because we believe when I make money, I'll be happy. When I get myself in shape, I'll be happy. You won't. You'll be happy when you decide you're going to be happy. And you'll be happy when you've integrated those parts of you that you're locked away, the parts that give you shame and guilt and give you a reason why you're not to look at them. You'll be happy when you connect with them. You'll be happy when you integrate with them and you recognize they're just parts of you. And they're always going to be there in some shape or form. But they don't have to be the version that is expressed involuntarily. The guy that cracks up at his children or his wife because they did something, the wee boy inside who's saying, you must act this way because I don't want to have to look at myself. That's the version of you, the part of you that's causing so much upheaval and issue in your life that you want to avoid. But it's the part of you that's unconsciously coming out to play. When someone does something that basically they were just being them, but you internalized it, that it was an attack on you, and it triggered something that's not healed within you, it's still alive in you, that you have no conscious awareness of, therefore you have no control over. And instead of recognizing that and then taking the steps to change it, you're projecting and demanding that they change who they are currently so that it doesn't impact you, so you don't have to deal with your own shit. And this is where so many men are stuck. And it's why so many men are not happy. And why so many men are putting their happiness on their sense of self-worth or their material goods or their ego status, their standing in society, their physical attributes, because they're not learning to reconnect with who they are and be comfortable with that version. I'm not saying you should be that version and stay that version, but you are that version at this moment in time. So you need to love that version of you as strongly as you love the idea of being the version that you're projecting you want to be. And you only get to that version of you when you start to genuinely recognize who you are now. And you let go of the guilt. You let go of the shame. You let go of this perceived judgment that everyone else has of you, which is actually a judgment you have on yourself that you're projecting onto others, because it's easier to say they're thinking that way rather than you acknowledge it's you thinking that way and projecting it outwardly. You are expressing to others who you are, and everyone outside probably sees the version of you that you deny having. This is every one of us. This is universal. The goal of life, the journey of this existence, is to bring the unconscious to the conscious. As Jung said, you know, it will steer your life and you will refer to it as fate. But the minute you bring it to your awareness and you recognize it for what it is, an identity that you've attached to, a mechanism that you use as a child to stay safe, a version that was required, because without that version you don't exist. Your ego, your personality, the wholeness of you as a child, fractured through multiple experiences where you were not allowed to be your authentic self. And because you had to fracture and become someone you weren't to receive the love that you desperately needed as a child, you began playing out that role, because the version that the man or woman in front of you meant so much to you, because you were young and you were needy and you required them to survive. So you would be willing to sacrifice who you were in order to make sure that you got the love you needed to grow. But somewhere along the line, that version of you became more permanent. You identified with that version, and it became more comfortable to be him. And while he served you at a certain point in life, he's now no longer doing the job he was created for. But he keeps on steering your ship. I say this analogy all the time. Imagine your life is a ship, and the number of years you've lived are the number of passengers on your boat, on your ship. And the goal, the dreams you have are the destinations. So you want to, my dream, let's take my dream as an example. My dream is to own a plot of land with a wee bit of forestry in it, have a yurt to live in, grow my vegetables, a few sheep, a few chickens, maybe a few rabbits to eat, bit of online coaching, have the gym, be happily married with someone who's genuine and understands me and into the spiritual journey that I'm in, and to carve wood all day, help others heal, and do that. That's my dream. So that's my 48-year-old male dream. So my ship, if I'm steering, the 48-year-old man is steering that ship, my ship, I will get there. But along this journey, my 8-year-old self kicks me out of the way when I go to the toilet and takes over my boat. And I allow him to steer my ship to somewhere I don't want to be. Maybe puts it on the rocks and have to prepare it and have to do all that work and don't do it, and please don't do it again, put him away again and and this is the life we're all on. We're all got this goal, this dream of where we want to be. And as long as this version of us, the most healed version, the adult version is steering the ship, then we get there. But along the way, we allow versions of ourselves, passengers on our ship, the ages that we were when we were traumatized and insecure and fearful, to come out, to take over control of the ship, and they steer us off course, and they knock us under ship, or shipwreck us, and this is the journey. And this is where these bowls play in, because it gives you time to just breathe and connect with yourself and allow these frequencies to soothe the nervous system. And then you start recognizing the patterns, because you don't feel your thoughts, you observe them. We feel our thoughts. The analogy I use is like you're walking through a forest and you see a bear in front of you 200 meters away, and it just stares at you and it sees you and it starts running at you. You're not going to observe that. You're going to react. Adrenaline's going to kick in. You're going to run for your life. You're in survival mode. Thoughts no longer matter. It's action. It's response. But at the same time, if I'm in a house that's safe and secure, and I put a drone up, and I fly the drone over the forest, and I see that same bear, I'm not going to be terrified. I'm going to observe. I'm going, wow. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to look for here. Come here. Look at this. Look at that. Oh my God! It's only across the way. Different experience because I'm observing it. The fear you have when it controls you, you have no direction. You're not going to be able to integrate it. And so many men live in survival mode permanently, unrealizing it, not realizing it. It's unconscious. And it's through the meditation that you start to connect with the thoughts and allow those thoughts to work through you. And you can integrate them. And through integrating them, you can heal the emotional connection to them. I'm not saying it's easy, but I am saying it's doable. And I am saying it's these thoughts, these feelings, these unhealed responses in your body that were once a protection mechanism, they're the reason why you're fat. They're the reason why you're depressed. They're the reason why you're anxious. They're the reason why you're not married, or you're not rich, or you're addicted to food, or you're addicted to cigarettes, or you're addicted to beer, or you're addicted to drugs, or you're addicted to porn, or you're addicted to doom scrolling, or you're having affairs, or you're self-sabotaging. They are what's causing it. And no amount of exercise is going to get rid of it. It will only allow you to shift the energy and suppress it. It will give you temporary relief. But it's not going to heal it. Now, the thing is, most men aren't ready for it. That's the truth. I know that for a fact because I've been doing the work so many years, and the amount of men resist it. And that's fine, because that's where a lot of men are. And I tell guys, the reason I'm still so focused on coaching men and fitness is because I recognize that the version of me who wasn't ready to confront this needed exercise. It did give me that temporary space, and whether it was hitting the bags or grappling or lifting heavy weights, it gave the ego what it needed to stay in its box for a while, which meant I could function on a day-to-day level. And for some guys, that's where they're always going to remain. And if that's where you're going to be, that's where you're going to be, and there's no judgment here for that. But if you're going to train, then you might as well train properly. You might as well use exercise for a way to ensure that you get the most out of it and you feel the best from it, so you're not taking energy away from an already stressed mind and body and soul, and instead rejuvenate it, allow it to feel like fuller. And how you train will have a massive impact on that. And you can do all this HIIT training you want, and you can do all this exercises that you think that social media tells you should be doing. But if you're still overweight, and you're still not getting to where you want to be, and you're still in this loop, then something in your approach is broken. So the first step to all this journey I've been talking about is just making peace with maybe you need to train differently. Maybe there needs to be a sort of reevaluation of your effort and a willingness to approach things from a different perspective. You'll still get a sweat, You'll still feel you've worked out. You'll still wake up with that, oh God, I feel sore today. You can still get all that. But what you'll also get are the benefits of a structured training program designed exactly for where you are. That's going to target all the areas that you need targeting to build strength, to grow muscle, and to increase mobility, while impacting your confidence and growing your self-belief. Because self-belief is found in the doing, in the conquering, in the overcoming. And no man can feel confident, no man ever feels good or feels confident whenever someone's done it for them. Yeah, they may get the praise. But you know when you know it wasn't you, that without someone else doing something, you couldn't have done it? It sort of deadens that success, doesn't it? Yeah, you feel good. You do feel good, and you do get the benefits and all, but you know, there's something just gnawing away at you as a man. And you'll hide it. But you know that it was because you didn't dig in deep enough. You had to get someone to bail you a bit because you could have done it and you knew you could have done it, but you just didn't. Compare that to when you know you did it, that you overcame something that it had been the anchor in your life for years, and even if no one knew about it, it actually didn't matter to you because internally you knew that you had dug in deep and you had really you'd reached down as deep as you possibly could. And because you did that, you'd come up and you'd won. There's something about that feeling that nothing can keep you down for a certain period of time. That's only discovered in the doing, in the commitment. It's discovered when the consistent effort is rewarded down the line, not instantaneously, not instant gratification. I think that's where we're making a mistake today. We're all looking at instant gratification. We're like little boys in our mindsets. We want everyone to tell us how amazing we are, because we don't want to commit long term to something that's going to challenge us deeply. But also in that challenge, it's going to lead to greater growth and greater experiences and more confidence and this realization that we are capable of so much more. And that can only be discovered through you being you and you being willing to go through the hard times and the difficult obstacles. But the payback is so much greater. But instant gratification through dopamine rushes on social media has meant that so many men avoid it. And because we avoid it, we never benefit from that experience. And that is what is numbing so many men's lives. I wish so many men could understand this. That desire, that craving you've got within your soul, that itch can only be scratched by you. And like a scratch in the middle of your back, it's hard to get. But when you get it, you're like, oh, it just feels relief. Lads, this is available as all. This is why I do the Weathered Warriors. The online training is so simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Like if I can train you with your body weight, I can train you with just a kettlebell, I can train you with body weight, I can train you with a home gym. But only if you commit. But anyway, I'm going to go here, I'm going to walk a dog here. She's looking at me right now, she wants out. And I'm going to go live with another Royal Court workout later on today, so keep an eye out. Have a good day, folks.